Did Shedeur Sanders just leak the Pittsburgh Steelers draft plans and that he'll be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, he basically just said that the next great quarterback and wide receiver duo will be George Pickens, DK Metcalf, and potentially him. Also, Pittsburgh Steelers general manager Omar addresses the trade rumors of George Pickens, and will he be shipped out? But first, before I get more into both of those, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, Shedeur Sanders did some media just yesterday talking about the NFL draft, and he was asked a specific question about the great wide receiver quarterback duos in league history and that are forming today in the NFL. And he brought up George Pickens and DK Metcalf, basically sending a message to the Steelers that he wants to be with them, and also maybe leaking that he's the next quarterback. So, on the podcast, The Rushed with Max Crosby, Shedeur Sanders talked about how the fact that he believes that no matter who the quarterback is for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they'll be up there in the great duo quarterback wide receivers because of DK Metcalf and George Pickens. Here's this quote on the topic. Whoever gonna be the quarterback for DK Metcalf and George Pickens, whoever that is. And then he starts smirking, he starts smiling throughout that quote. But, end quote. He also said, so whatever that means for whoever is listening, end quote. So Sanders 100% knew what he was doing with that answer, listing receivers from the Pittsburgh Steelers who obviously have interest in him, but also who he may want to go to. So, or who he may end up with. So it was a great kind of troll job by Sanders, but it raises a great point that the Steelers situation at receiver is great landing spot for the next quarterback, whether that is Sanders in the first round of this year's 2025 NFL draft, or whether that's Mason Rudolph or another quarterback. They have a great set of wide receivers right now, and having the quarterback job will be easy because of it. So on paper, Metcalf and Pickens have a redundancy as big physical receivers who win down the field contested catch situations. So all the quarterback really needs to do is give them the best chance to catch the ball, throw it up there, and the receivers will come down. So that's a great point by Sanders, and maybe leaking that he's the next quarterback. But even if he's not, they have a great spot for the next quarterback wide receiver duo. Now, let's move over to Omar, because he addressed the George Pickens rumors that have been going on for a while now. Because just in case if you haven't seen, since the Pittsburgh Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, or even before that, there's been rumors that George Pickens may be traded for a high draft pick, so they'll just remove him. They don't want to pay him. They want to take away the distraction from him and send him somewhere else and get a different wide receiver with that draft pick instead. Those were the rumors. But Omar shuts them down immediately. He says this: no, we're excited we have George and DK here. I think they're going to be exciting for everyone to watch. But no. End quote. So he was direct with that quote, shutting down any possibility of George Pickens being on the move. Because even the top NFL insider, Adam Schefter, listed some players that can be expendable on NFL draft night and maybe a potential trade, and George Pickens was one of them. He deemed him expendable. So even the top NFL insider is saying that. Maybe he has some inside information, but that has been the rumors going along this entire offseason thus far with George Pickens. There's been rumors of him getting traded to the Raiders, getting traded to different teams that need a wide receiver just because now the Steelers have DK Metcalf. No, the whole thing last offseason, if we remember, was adding Brandin Ayuk to this wide receiver core with George Pickens. So what makes you think now, just because they trade for DK Metcalf, that George Pickens is going to be shipped out of here? That just doesn't make sense. The whole point was to add a 1A, 1B type of receiving threat to your team. So they did that in DK Metcalf. You're not just going to trade away George Pickens because of it. No, if you wanted Brandin last offseason and didn't get him, then why would adding DK Metcalf be a different scenario? That just didn't make sense. And Omar basically shut it down right away. No, we are not trading George Pickens. And to be honest, just like Shedeur said in the earlier part of this video, it adds a dynamic for any quarterback that comes here, that you have some great talent out at the receiver position. Not only George Pickens and DK Metcalf, but also Calvin Austin, a really speedster at wide receiver. You have him growing into his own. You have Roman Wilson now in his basically fully healthy first season in the NFL coming up. Second year in total. You have some other wide receivers on this team that were re-signed this offseason. So you have the talent at wide receiver. You also have George Pickens, Darnell Washington. You have these running back wide receiver threats in Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell. So you have all the talent you need on this team. So any quarterback that coming in here is going to have a big role, and they can make it easy for them. But if you take away George Pickens, then you lose basically almost all of that. So Shedeur basically just told everything in his portion of this video. Any quarterback that comes in here, their job is easy because of those people. So why would you get rid of George Pickens? It just doesn't make sense. And that's why the Steelers aren't going to do it. Also, if the Steelers were to get rid of George Pickens, they would just have to add another wide receiver through the draft. And if they didn't, then you're basically in the same position as you were last offseason, or last season in general, because DK Metcalf would just take the place of George Pickens, but then you would still have the same wide receiver core as you did from last season. So that just doesn't make sense. So, are you really going to trade away George Pickens and then draft a player that you're hoping can be as good as George Pickens, but you don't know for sure? No, that just wouldn't make sense, especially because he's still on his rookie contract. Yes, his contract is coming up where you may have to pay him soon, but right now he's still on his rookie deal. We could wait till next year to extend him. Anyway, those rumors are shut down immediately, and it makes complete sense as to why they were shut down. Hopefully y'all have the understanding of why they were shut down by Omar, but it's because George Pickens is a really good player, and having him expendable just doesn't make sense. So, before I end this video, let me just recap it really quickly. Shedeur basically saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers position in the draft is really good for any quarterback looking to go there, and he may hope to be that quarterback. He's smiling, smirking through his interview, talking about the Steelers, so he can be the fit, and honestly, I hope he is. I'd rather him than Aaron Rodgers. Also, to recap, George Pickens will not be traded. George Pickens will be the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver next season, and he's not going anywhere. So, that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about what Shedeur said, maybe leaking the Pittsburgh Steelers draft plans that he'll be the next quarterback. And how do you feel with him basically saying that he and George Pickens and DK Metcalf will be the next great wide receiver quarterback duo trio threat? Also, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about George Pickens not being on the move. Did you want him to be traded? Did you not? Let me know your thoughts. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis, reports. Everything surrounding this team, I've covered it. I'll continue to cover it as the season goes along in terms of the draft season and then the training camp and OTAs, mandatory stuff, everything. I'll cover it all. The draft is tomorrow, so every new player we get, I'll have introduction, highlights, analysis on the channel for them immediately following their draft selection. So stay tuned, and I'm sure there'll be all the rumors going along with maybe some trades as well. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications for this channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Until the next video, I'm gone for now. I'm out. Peace.